get excited. Example 6. So again, example 6 is basically the same kind of problem as example 5. So I say if you got example 5, do it on your own. Otherwise, doesn't matter. You can just work the problem out with me. Okay, let's get started. So again, we're trying to write standard form and vertex form so we can identify all this nifty information and draw a sketch of our lovely parabola. Now, if you guys notice, A is not 1, so we got to be careful. Okay, well, let's get started. So the first step, X is on one side, terms without X is on the other, which means that -1 needs to escort itself to the other side. So I need to add 1 on both sides of my equation. -1 plus 1 will cancel and turn to 0. The y and the 1 are not like terms. So this is going to be y plus 1 equals 3x squared minus 12x. Okay, now the next step, before you can complete the square, you got to make sure that a value is 1, which currently a is not 1, a is 3, so no, a is not equal to 1. Rats. It doesn't work. Okay? So that's like an X, like it doesn't work. The other ones I put a check mark because it worked, so this one I put an X. Anyway, so now, since that is not 1, we need to factor out the a values. So this will be y plus 1 equals, I'm going to put my 3. Remember, the way that we can transform 3 into 1 is by dividing it by 3 or factoring it out. So I'm going to write 3 in the front, and I'm going to divide 3 into both of my terms and write what's left over in here. So 3 divided by 3 cancels and turns to 1. So now I am left with a 1x squared or an x squared. -12x divided by 3 is -4x. Okay, so now my a value is 1. Yes. So now my a value is 1. Now that it is 1, I can complete the square and force this bad boy right here to become a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to do our magical formula, which is the b over 2 squared. So b over 2 squared equals, my b is -4. So it's -4 over 2 squared, which -4 over 2 is -2. And -2 squared, -2 times -2 is 4. So that's the number that I'm going to add in my parenthesis, and I need to keep my equation in balance and add it to the other side. But be careful when you're adding things inside of a parenthesis, which my screen has frozen, thank you. When you add things inside the parenthesis and there's a number out front, you're actually adding a different number. So before I add it onto this side, I'm going to add it in here, and we'll talk about what you need to add onto the left-hand side, okay? So eventually I'm going to add something over here. It's a secret for right now. Okay, and then I'm going to have x squared minus 4x, and then I'm going to add that 4 plus 4. And don't forget the 3 should be out in front. Jeez Louise, Miss Long. Sorry, guys. Okay. Now, remember, I added 4 into a parenthesis with a number in front. Technically, I did not add 4 to my equation. Technically, I added 3 times 4 to that side, which 3 times 4 is technically a 12. Okay, so I secretly added a 12 onto this side of my equation. So I'm not going to add 4 onto this side. I'm going to add 12 onto this side. Okay, so just be very careful. The demon cats will get you. Watch out. Okay, so let's start combining like terms. So 1 plus 12 is 13. So it's y plus 13 equals, all right, so now I can write this as a perfect square trinomial. So let's do that. Okay, which remember, and I forgot to leave room for the shortcut. Man, okay. So I'll just do it down here again, sorry. Okay, so our shortcut to write this as a perfect square trinomial, I'm going to square root the first term and the third term, or the last term. And then we take the sign of the middle. Okay, so the first term is x squared, which the square root of x squared is x. And then we're going to square root the last term, which is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to put my x and my 2 in here. And then we're going to take the sign of the middle, which is minus 2. Okay, and then the last step, you guys, is to get y by itself, which the way that I move positive 13 over is by subtracting it. And remember, I can't really subtract anything on this side, so I'm just going to add it to the end. So 13 minus 13 cancels and turns to 0. What I'm left with is y equals 3 times x minus 2 squared, and then minus 13. Yay, vertex form. Okay, so now that we know vertex form, now I can write I know what all this information will be, which will help me to draw a sketch. So I'm going to rewrite vertex form up here. Okay, so y equals, out in front is the 3, and then we have minus 2 squared, and then minus 13. Okay, so let's identify the vertex point, or the H and K. Don't forget, you guys, the H, you got to flip that sign. So the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. And then I'm just going to bring on down the K, so negative 13. Okay, so I'm going to plot my vertex point at 2, negative 13. 13, you can count that out. Okay. Okay, so 2, negative 13, that's my vertex. Okay, the A value is the number out in front, which is a 3. It's the number right before the parenthesis that says a 3. Sorry, guys. All right, and 3, that's a positive number, so the A value is greater than 0. And since it's positive, don't forget, it's a happy parabola, happy face, and happy parabolas have minimum, so it's going to have a minimum. Okay, so when I sketch my graph, it will be facing upward. And again, just do your best. It's going to go up, something like that. And my graph's name, don't forget to name a graph. Let's see, what would be a good name for this graph? Yeah, I think that's a good name. I like Patricia. Patricia. There we go. All right, nice work, you guys. Now we're going to take what we learned in these problems on how to rewrite standard form into vertex form and apply it to a real world problem. So get excited.